Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. This is such a special treat to be able to introducing our presenter today. This webinar couldn't come at a more perfect time because today we're talking about something that is quite a delicate conversation education today, and that is thinking about really purposeful screen time. I've got one of our amazing ambassadors backstage who's going to talk to us about taking the approach towards purposeful screen time versus passive viewing of the screen, how to use interactive technology to support education and really enhance the use of technology in the classroom. Throughout the webinar today, if you've got any questions, I'll be backstage. And if you have any questions, drop those in the chat. I'll be dropping links, answering your questions. Hang out with me there in the chat. I'm super excited. Stay tuned to the end to earn your certificate. And then we'll also share a couple of announcements at the end of the webinar as well. With that, I'm not going to take up any more of your time. I'm going to introduce our incredible Lumio ambassador. Hey, Michelle, how's it
Good
going?
morning. It's going great. I hope everybody's having a wonderful morning. Looking forward to talking to you about not all screen time being equal.
We're super pumped to have you here. We just want to say thank you so much for your time, Michelle. We think that it's just so important to be able to hear from folks that are out in the field, boots on the ground. Michelle's got some incredible ideas. Y'all are in for such a treat. And with that, Michelle, I'm going to go ahead and pop your presentation on the screen, and you can go ahead and take it away.
All right, great. So I'm going to go ahead and give you my class ID. It's 245717. So if you'd rather just watch, that's absolutely fine. But I'd love it if you would participate and go into lumioclass.com. So you're going to open a new tab on your browser, go to lumioclass.com, and then you can just join as a guest, or you can log in, whatever you choose. And my class ID is 245717. And we will put that in the chat for you as well as we go along so that we don't have to miss any of the content. I'm so happy that you're here with me today. As Mish said, my name's Michele Lyles. I'm a tech integration specialist, and I live in the Houston, Texas area. My district's called Fort Bend ISD. And I am going to, Mish, if you can put my class ID in the chat, that would be wonderful. And I'm going to show you my contact info. So if anybody wants to get in touch with me, I'd love to hear from you, what you're doing with Lumio. You can follow me on X at MSLETS or email me at michelle.lyles@fortbendisd.gov. All right, so let's get started. So what are we learning about today? We're learning how interactive technology empowers learners to move from passive observers to active participants. And we'll know we're successful when we can explain the difference between passive and active learning, planning strategies for keeping our kiddos engaged in the tech-integrated classroom, identifying opportunities for student collaboration in the tech-integrated classroom, and of course, connecting what you learned today to your job role and furthering your learning. We're going to start out with a shout it out. So as the teacher, I'm going to click start for class. And with shout it out, you should have on your screen an opportunity to give an answer to this prompt. And my question to you is, what is one word that you think of? And if you need to do a phrase, a small phrase, that's good too. But what's one word you think of when someone brings up screen time, whether positive, negative, somewhere in between? I'd just like to know your thoughts starting out. Shout it out is a great way to prime the pump for learning with your students. So kind of getting it out there. What do we already know? What are we wanting to learn? So there are a lot of ways you can use shout it out with your students. So as your students give responses, you're going to see that they come up in these little boxes, and I can start grouping them together, showing trends. I can look for misconceptions, and then I can make some little anecdotal notes for myself later on. So I'm seeing purposeful screen time helps people learn new skills, stay informed, and complete important tasks. It's more beneficial than mindless scrolling. Amen. Because it has a clear goal and purpose. It is complex for sure. And notice down here at the bottom, I can scroll in between my students' responses. Screen time, too much screen time. Yes, absolutely. And we're going to talk about that today. And then it's digital learning. Sure. And okay, you think about parents when you think about the word screen time. And I can see that positively and negatively. It's ongoing. Yeah, we're always dealing with it, right? It can be purposeful. Absolutely. I am in your camp. It's intentional. Yeah. How many times do you go to a restaurant and you see the whole family, everybody's on their own device, not speaking anymore? So we can see that there are many different ways that we can think about screen time. So let's go ahead. I'm glad to know your thoughts on this. So when we first hear about screen time, we think, oh my gosh, beware the digital zombie. Like kids are just passively looking at screens and they're not getting anything out of it. It's a babysitter, or teachers saying, well, sure, you can get on your device after you finish your classwork. So it becomes, like a toy, not a tool. And we all know that technology should be a tool and it should be used effectively. So, what I want you to think about is amidst all these concerns that we have about student distraction, declining academic performance, data privacy risks, mental and physical health effects from kids being on screens too much. Although we have all these issues and they are very real issues, the main issue should not be screen time, but it should be focused on how are screens being used. So we're going to look at a quote from ISD and ASCD. They joined recently, and they published a work called From Screen Time to Screen Value. This is recent research. This came out June 25th, 2026. And they say research clearly shows that EdTech is a great benefit to learning when it's well designed, well implemented, and aligned to clear learning goals. That's your key right there. What kind of tech are you using? How are you using it? And how does it meet the goal? We always have to start in education with the state standards in mind and what's in the curriculum, right? So what digital tool is best going to meet that purpose and how are we going to use it to meet student needs? That's the key right there. So let's look at the difference between passive screen time and active screen time. So when we think of passive use of technology, that just means that kiddos are consuming. So they're getting information or they're rehearsing skills, and there is a purpose for that. So they might be watching a video or they might be clicking on something. They might be moving things around. So that kinesthetic need. They might be just receiving information. They might be guessing. So oftentimes when there are those rapid fire quiz questions coming out them, like in a Kahoot, which is timed, are they just guessing at the answer so they can have a probability of getting the right answer and gaining points and winning for their team? But it can be very isolating too if they're only working by themselves. It's an independent activity. If it's an active use of screen time, then we've got kiddos creating. I can tell you in my district, that is the number one thing that I am always looking for and I'm not seeing nearly enough of. The kids are interacting with some form of technology, but it's either on the smart panel, just being projected. They're not using the tools that Lumio provides or any other digital tools. They're definitely not creating things. So that's what I think we need to fix in ed tech. Oftentimes they're not collaborating. The more they can collaborate, the better. And I'm going to share some collaborative ideas with you as well. They need to be explaining. So they could be explaining through their LMS. We use Schoology, but there's also all of the other programs that are out there. And so when kids are discussing, verbally discussing online or discussing in a discussion question, a discussion board online, they're getting more out of that. Then the teacher can be there to bring in feedback on the feedback they're giving each other. And that's like super powerful. And then differentiating. We know that technology can bring information to students in a variety of ways, and they can show what they know through creating in a variety of ways. So there's nothing better than active screen time. So you can always ask yourself when you're doing lessons with your students, this is a quick test. If students are creating, discussing, reflecting, giving and receiving feedback, then that screen time is being used for a purpose. So let's look at some examples of this. So passive use versus active use. So if students are reading a text online, that's fine. We have online textbooks. We have passages that we may put in our learning management systems, and students are reading those. But what makes it more powerful? What if you had them annotate? or add text boxes where they're doing text to self, text to text, text to world connections. Whereas students are playing a random game online after they finish their work, why not have them collaborate to find answers? And then, like, there are some examples in Lumio in the game-based activities where students are playing in a small group on a team, and they're strategizing and then submitting one answer to in this online game so that teachers can get their information on what the students know and what they still need to know. Answering closed questions tests. So you've got your multiple choice and then you've got your true false. Or when students complete a discussion, the teacher is just reading the posts, not commenting on it. When we make things more interactive, then we know that our students are learning more because we can see what they learn, where the misconceptions lie, and where we can do our reteach to the students who need that. And then instead of watching a video every time, what if we let them edit a video? Maybe it doesn't have you purposely leave out details in specific parts and students research and add more information to different parts of that video. Then you share it as a whole class and feedback is given collaboratively. So there are just lots of ways that we can use screen time collaboratively. Do we have any questions I need to pause for?
You are all good.
Okay, great. Thanks, Mish. So why use digital tools in learning experiences? There are a lot of different reasons. We already talked about differentiation, but we can personalize learning for students because we can create different versions of the same assignment for students. There's going to be increased engagement already with students using digital tools. And then they have increased access to information. Think about what you can do with a learning management system opposed to without. If you only use a textbook, students only have access to that information in that textbook. But if you have the world at your fingertips and you can bookmark websites for students, you can put specific links to things in Lumio lessons, then students are going directly to the websites you want them to go to get the information you want them to have. And also discussing bias, what information is out there and do you believe this or not? Why? An opportunity to own their own learning. This is where I'm having some problems understanding. They can isolate that and the teacher knows those are the kids that I need to work with in small group on these specific things. And I can create Lumio lessons just for those kiddos for that specific skill. And then of course they can collaborate and most importantly, developing life skills. So when we are not allowing our students to use technology, we are not preparing them for their world. We're keeping them back in our world. And I say that as an OG teacher. So we know that there are a lot of different opportunities that students will have post-graduation. And no matter what the job, you have to be able to communicate online somehow. So let's look at some teacher tips for success. The first thing we want to do is we want to establish clear expectations with our students. And one way to do that is go into the Lumio graphic organizers, find the Frayer model, and then come up with a collaboratively created respect agreement with students. What does respect look like in the classroom? Then what does respect look like when we're online? So if we look at that in terms of student to student, what's it look like? Well, let's keep our responses in a discussion positive. No put downs. Let's use the tag protocol when we give each other feedback. Let's stay on topic. What does that look like from teacher to student? Let's keep our responses positive. The teacher will give suggestions to help. The teacher can give feedback in a Lumio lesson just using the text tool. What does it look like from students to teacher? Keep the responses positive, use sentences and their grammar and best spelling, and then ask questions when you don't understand. And then all to the environment, how are we taking care of our digital tools? Which brings me to my next tip for success. How are we building routines with our students for our digital tools? So first of all, how do you let your students know what their teacher's Lumio class ID is? One thing you can do is you can go over to your people icon over here, your class settings, and where it says show class ID, you can turn that on and then that appears on your screen and then you can move that wherever you want it to be. You can always click to make it go away. But that way, if students come late to class, they can get their device out, go to lumioclass.com, and there's the teacher's class ID. So I've even had some teachers print it out from a Word document, cut it out, and tape it to the top of the panel. So where are they going to charge their devices, and when do they get to charge their devices? What about some checklists? Are they using checklists when they create digital products? We have a new tool in Lumio called the widget wall. Oh, it's fantastic. It has so many different tools, and you just access it from your Lumio homepage, and it's on the right side underneath your profile. And you can get to the widget wall, and you have to have beta turned on to see it. So make sure that you have beta turned on. And we can show you at the end of the session for that, what that looks like. But I set mine up. Here's the traffic light tool that I used on my widget wall. Red means no tech today. We're working hands-on, and we're going to be doing things with text, and we're writing and that kind of thing. If it's yellow today, then that's independent work. You can use your tech. And if it's a green light, we're using it in multiple ways. We're using multiple digital tools today. You can even make, what we've done in my district is we made in our LMS one course or group, you could do that, where students are automatically put into that through your IT department. And we made job aids for the different district tools that are approved in our district. So we call it the Fort for Fort Bend ISD. And we have, this is how you use Canva. This is how you use Lumio. Here are your digital citizenship lessons. So we put all that in one course. And I got to put props out to Lamar CISD in Texas, because they're the ones who gave me the idea for this in the first place. They had a web page that had all these buttons on it where students could access tools. And so we made one of these in Schoology, and we transferred that idea from them. So big props to them. Another tip is design interactive lessons. So here we have our Frere model again from the graphic organizers in Lumio. Here I uploaded a PDF, and I'll show you that one in a minute. Here I just took a page, and all I added on here was text and some pictures to have students do a formative assessment. So let's see what those look like. And then I'll pause for questions again. Here's one I'd like you to participate in. We're going to do some individual handouts here where you all get your own copy of this. So I'm going to click on Teacher Handout to model for you. So has anyone ever seen a spot the difference activity? I'm sure you guys have seen those. I used to use this with my GT learners, but you could use it with any kiddos to prime the pump at the beginning of instruction, get their brains awakened. So you tell them, okay, on this page, there are 2 images. Spot the difference between the 2 images. You should find 6 items. So go ahead on your handout and start circling the differences. Let me show you what that might look like. I'm going to go over to my tools on the left. I'm going to select my drawing tools, select a color that I'd like to draw with. And I notice that this shape and this shape, these leaves are going a different direction. So now you find some that look different. As students are doing this, I'm going to get out of my teacher handout, and I'm going to look what I can see. In my teacher handout, I can see the student progress. I can see every one of your handouts. I can click on one of your handouts and see what you're doing, and then I can use the text tool to give you comments, give you feedback on there. Great job. I like how you, and did you notice? So I can give them feedback and see what they're doing. When I go to class overview, I can see how many of my students have not started yet. So now I can walk around the room and see if they're having a problem logging into the class or if they don't understand the assignment. Now I see my numbers going down because you know that I'm looking to see if you're participating or not. These students are in progress. And when they finished, I'll see them under completed. Here's the super cool thing. Again, this has been a beta feature, but I think Mish told me that this is active for everyone now. Is that right, Mish? That everyone can see this now and handouts?
There is quite a few different updates to our individual handout dashboard. Parts of it are fully available for everyone, and there's just a few little parts that are still in beta. You'll notice there's a little beta sticker in that top right corner for export. So being able to export your handouts is really great for being able to progress monitor, build student portfolios. You can export your entire class or just a student at a time if, let's just say, you've got like a parent-teacher conference coming up, but the dashboard is live for everyone now.
Great. Fabulous. because this is a power feature, guys. So when you export these results, you're going to see how the students did on the formative assessment. This will help inform your instruction, and you can use it for all those different situations and scenarios that Mish was talking to you about. So thank you for those who participated in that. I appreciate it. I'm not going to call you on the spot and click. Another thing is, if you see a student doing really good work, you can ask them, go up to them and ask them, is it okay if I share your work with the class? And then you can show what their work is and what they're doing that's showing mastery of the skill that you just taught them. This is called Match 'em Up, and you guys can participate in this one too. As a teacher, I can model for my students. So here, this is a 5th grade assignment. We're in American history. And so we have these powerful documents, and these are what the importance is of the documents. So I can drag these down to their corresponding circles underneath them, and then they match. And then at the end, students will find out if they're correct or not. And you can put different settings in there when you set it up to determine if they can find out their progress as soon as they match them, or if they can find out at the end. And so I can click view progress. And again, I can see what my students are doing. So I've got data when I use the last 2 tools that I just showed you. Okay, so here's the one that I was telling you where I just uploaded a PDF. So all I did was I just drew on a piece of paper circles and rectangles. Then I uploaded it into Lumio in a lesson. I found these 4 pictures in the Lumio gallery, and I popped them on the screen, the different aspects of the life cycle of a frog. Then I typed these words, so I just added text. So upload PDF, add some text for titles, and then they can just drag these in the right spot. I've got an instant assessment for my students. I could even take a grade on it. So for the individual handout, I can see all your work and how you're doing on that. So you can make any Lumio page, just a regular page, an individual handout. And in other words, I have the teacher handout where I can demo how to do it. I can model, but you also, each student gets his or her own handout. So how I do that is I open the page in edit mode. I am not in edit mode. I'm in presentation mode right now. You can tell because I have black bars on the sides while I'm presenting. If I want to edit it, then I'm going to go over here to the hamburger and I'm going to click edit session. I'll know I'm in editing mode because the bars will be white. So that's how I can do it. I can do that. So I can also use the even not in edit mode. I can get into there very easily by going to the left here, clicking the magic wand, and I can click individual handout here. So I can even do that from present mode, and that's a newer feature in Lumio as well. So is this not the greatest program for teaching ever? I just love it.
I love
It's amazing.
doing it when you're in delivery mode too, because Michelle, I don't know about
so
you, but
one
I've
more tip,
always
you can allow digital collaboration, and it's so powerful. So when you click that magic wand on a page and you make it a group workspace, all the students that you have enrolled in your class, it's going to allow you to divide them into pretty equal groups. So let's say I had 20 kids in my class. I click, I want 5 groups. Then obviously I'm going to have 4 kiddos per group. One thing to remember when you're using this tool is it's going to group them for you. You can drag them into different groups if you don't like how they're grouped. Like if you have too many leaders in one group or too many kids who need more structure in that group, then you can certainly move them around. But the main thing to remember is those kiddos are not sitting together in your classroom. It just automatically groups them for you. So you have to think about that's an abstract concept for elementary kiddos. So they might think, well, why isn't my team member sitting next to me? So you may have to explain that group workspace to them first. Okay, so here's one you can participate in. So I'm going to set you up and you're going to get to see from my screen what it looks like. So I didn't even look to see how many people we have. So I'm just going to make 6 groups. So we're dividing you into 6 groups. Oh, look at all of you. All right. So then I start the workspace. And now I have my groups. I can certainly move you. Oh, I don't want Mish working with this other team. So, I can move Mish to another team if I want, and I can see what Misha's team is doing. So, thank you so much for moving these. You just automatically understood how to do it. So, some kids are going to need directions, other kids are going to go ahead and start. And that's what you love to see because you're learning how they learn, especially at the beginning of the year. So, y'all are just moving these into the right places. Absolutely. And if I see misconceptions, like I see one on there, a student has a question here. So I see this little cloud. So I'm going to find out what that group needs, a little more understanding on this topic. And so, Team 3, you did an amazing job. Thanks for letting me share your work. Another group workspace. So let's say I'm in science lab and we have the materials and they have made a circuit. So once they've made that circuit, I'm going to have them show me their understanding. So then those groups are going to go in here and they're going to build that circuit, show me where the light bulb goes or light bulbs go, depending on the directions, show me where the battery pack and the cables are that give it the power to make it a series circuit. So to make any Lumio page a group page, get to our friend the magic wand again, make sure you're in edit mode, or you can just do it live and then click group workspace. So here's our friend magic wand. Here's our option. The only difference I haven't shown you is whole class whiteboard. And so with individual handout, everybody gets their own copy. With group workspace, they get put into small groups. But with whole class whiteboard, if I made this a whole class whiteboard, you would all be writing or adding to this one page. So you could get to each other's work. So you have to explain to your students ahead of time, set them up for success. Okay, let's look at our respect agreement that we made in our Freer model. Now, examples of respectful behavior would not include removing someone else's work or Xing out someone else's work. So we're going to go back and revisit that. Okay, so Mish has a quick story for us on this, but what I want to share with you is the background on this activity is it's game show. You can find this in game-based activities. And prior to doing this game, we had used one passage in RLA, Reading Language Arts. Students had already dissected this passage. We'd used multiple strategies with it. So we looked at it for author's purpose. We looked at it for how does the setting affect the rest of the story, the role of the setting in the story, and things like that. So now we're going to play a game to review our learning. So we click start. I'm going to take my classroom. I'm going to show this on the panel. Now, you could have kids pair off and use one device, and they could play this with just the two of them. But I like to do it. I have like my kid who has to be the star of the show. They're going to stand up at the panel, and they're going to be this host right here, and they're going to click the wheel to see what question comes up. And my team on the left side of the room is going to be the Blue Monsters, Lava Lad, and on the right side, it's going to be these girl light blue monsters. I forget her name. If anybody remembers it, put it in the chat for me. And then my star who's come up to the class is going to flip the wheel. Oh yeah, this is one for extra bonus points. That's fabulous. We click again. Oh, we get extra points again. All right. All right. Well, let's get that question. All right. So the question is going to come up. Oh, we just keep getting more and more points. I love that. I've never seen that happen before. We're just extra lucky today. Okay. So what's going to happen is the question will come up. I think it's just acting up for you today. Here we go. Okay. They have the passage in front of them. So in their passage, prickly porcupines, which text feature, so that's what we're studying right now, will help the reader locate information about why many animals leave porcupines alone. Is it the maps in paragraph 4? Is it the subheading superquills? The caption under paragraph 6? Is it the subheading on the menu? So then our students will guess. If they get it correct, then the question's going to go to the next team and another question will be generated. So Mish, what was your experience with Game Show?
Thank you. So a couple positions ago at Smart and Lumio, I used to be our traveling professional development specialist. So I was really, really lucky and got to travel all over the US and Canada to facilitate PD with teachers on Lumio, on smart boards, all the things. And this conversation really, really stuck out to me, and I'll never forget it. But I was at a school in kind of the middle of nowhere, Alberta. It was one of the coolest places I've ever been. And it was their break, and I was listening to this conversation two teachers were having. I wasn't part of it. I was just sitting close by, and one teacher says to the other, like, hey, that was cool, but can you tell me more? One teacher was a pro, like Lumio user already. One was just learning, and she said, hey, that was cool, but can you tell me more? Like, I know you've used Lumio a lot. Tell me why. Like, why do you use it so much? We have tech all the time. What are the benefits that you see to it? And I'm like, okay, I have to listen to this because I want to hear what she says. And the teacher had said, it was, I think maybe like February, March. So they were getting ready for testing. And she said, we were getting ready for testing, and I had given my students a practice test on a computer because that's where their testing was. And she had said, I realized that their fluency while reading on a screen was quite slow. And she was observing her students and thinking, I I know these kiddos can get through this a little bit quicker. And so then she printed out the same exact practice test on paper and realized that there was a little bit of a difference. So she's explaining to this teacher, she said, there is a reason, right? This test does take place on a computer. I have to get them really comfortable with using and testing on a computer. And I came back to my hotel that night, and I was traveling a ton. And I was thinking even about myself in that moment. And I'm a person who is a sucker for a real book. I love to hold a book, feel it in my hands, see how far I am in the book. But when I was traveling so much, I became a Kindle user. And I came home after that trip, and I had picked up a real book, and I was like, wait, I'm reading really slowly, but on my Kindle, I'm like zooming through. I was having the opposite experience of those students. I became much faster reading digitally than I was on paper. And so it was a really interesting conversation they had about prepping your students for the experiences that they're going to have, where those experiences are going to be, and how taking quizzes on Lumio prepared them for state testing, not just in the content itself, but in the delivery platform. And I thought that was really interesting, and I'll never forget it.
Yes, I love that so much because that is such a great connection to their learning how to take the test, just the application of it by taking tests digitally. And that is a life skill too, because we're going to be clicking and answering questions and things like that online. So even though that is a low depth of knowledge skill, they need to do that when they encounter that process, when they are taking tests online. So, I mean, think about us as teachers. We had to take our tests online too. So, every state I've moved to, I've had to take a different state test. So it's an interesting fact to point out. So I'm going to go through these a little bit quicker. This one has to do with feedback online. So, um, you've already seen when I showed you individual handout that I can see all of my students' work. I can click on it and give them feedback up in the corner. And then I've already shown you how you can get data from it. You can see what each individual student has done, and you can download it as a PDF as well. So here's something that I had to share with you. I don't know if you've seen this before, but this is one of the coolest things I've ever seen to help us think about how our learners are learning. So this is called the Lumio logic model. And big props to whoever created this in SMART. But our problem statement is that educators strive to create personalized learning experience that engage students, enhance collaboration, and increase student outcomes. So when you look at this document as a teacher, what are we doing to amplify our best teaching practices? And for our students, how are we actively engaging them in the learning? So how Lumio solves this problem is it increases student engagement, it makes learning more accessible, it provides insight for the teacher into their learning. And you can read here all the examples of what this data can tell us about integrating Lumio, how it's helping our students. So there is research out there that proves that there are many things that Lumio can do to help support our learners. And then there are so many positive outcomes, short-term outcomes that come out of this. And I would dare to say long-term outcomes as you're using this program with them over time. So I'm not going to have you answer this question, but I really would love for you to think about this yourself. After me sharing this information with you and me sharing this information with you, what will your elevator speech be to those naysayers, those who are screen skeptics? What is a 30-second speech that you could give them that basically lets them know this is our intent? We are intentionally using technology in the classroom to meet students' needs, not as a babysitter. So, what is it that you could say to them? And while you're thinking on that, I want to share one last thought with you. I've always told teachers that I work with, think about it as the right tool for the right purpose at the right time. You're never going to use multiple digital tools at the same time unless they accomplish the purpose for what you're trying to do. Nor should you ever use a digital tool as a babysitter. So my challenge to you would be continue to share with our educational communities, our parents, our administrators, co-teachers, your colleagues. Continue to share with them that technology is not the focus of our learning when we're using screens. It just simply provides ways to help our students reach their learning destination. It is just another tool, just like a pencil or a book. So I want to thank you guys for your time. And Mish, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Michelle. So before everyone heads out here, we're going to share just a few different resources with you. I'll be chatting through a few of them and then sharing the links in the chat. So if you are wondering, hey, I'm still sort of new to Lumio and there's still so many things to learn, what can I do? So first and foremost, we have lots of different options for how you can learn more about Lumio. So the first link I'm going to drop in the chat, that is to our YouTube channel. And that goes specifically to our playlist page. And you'll notice a variety of playlists in there from Start, Enhance, Engage. So wherever you are in your Lumio journey, you can go there to see quick 1 to 3 minute video clips on how you can use different features in Lumio, as well as all of our previous webinar recordings on there. We also have quite a few webinars scheduled for the rest of this fall so far with ambassadors, our team, all the different things that you can learn about Lumio. We also have our academy, and I'll give you guys a little secret scoop here, but I'm working on revamping our Getting Started with Lumio course. It's going to be brand new. It's going to be pretty user-friendly. I'm really excited to launch that, so stay tuned to make sure that you know when that's coming. Michelle, I'm going to have you go to that next slide for me.
So sorry. I was getting so excited reading the comments.
No worries. Yeah, you got some really good shout outs in there. Make sure you're taking a look at those. The next thing I'm going to tell you about is our ambassador community. And I'm going to drop a link in the chat. If you're not part of our ambassador community yet, the link that I've just put in the chat, that is your application. So what is the ambassador community? Michelle is one of our ambassadors. If you love to hear from folks like Michelle, that is the place to be. That's where you can go to connect with folks all over the world that are using Lumio. That's where you can go to let us know that, hey, I'd like to be the next person that's on a webinar. Let us know. We'd love to feature you to share your expertise. That's where you can go to learn from each other. Just yesterday, we had a global ambassador connect call. We had 3 calls to apply to all the different time zones that we're in. So really, really neat. Just a great place to go to connect with other folks that are using Lumio. All right, next one is our Facebook group. So I'm going to drop one more link here in the chat. And that is another really great place to go because it's something that you're already doing on your phone. As you're scrolling on your phone at the end of the day, make sure you're part of our Facebook group. I go in there a few times a week. On Tuesdays, I'll drop a teacher tip in there for you on how you can use different features. On Fridays, I'll do a little discussion board. And then we also have our product team. Because if you haven't noticed, if you've been using Lumio, the last few months, our product team has been so busy at work and there has been new feature updates and totally new features rolling out like bi-weekly, I would say. And so that team is coming into that Facebook group and announcing when new features are live. So if you always want to be in the know, really good place to go. And it's also a good place to ask questions because there's thousands of us in there. Someone will answer your question pretty quick. And if we can't, we'll always help you get the support that you need. All right, next one, Michelle. Perfect, thank you. All right, if you are not, if you would like to receive your certificate for attending today's webinar, go ahead and complete the survey link. I'm going to drop that in the chat for you here in just a moment. I realized that I didn't have that one link ready for myself. Of course, I can never be too prepared. I'll drop that for you in just a moment here. And once you complete that form, you will get your certificate for attending our call. But while we're doing that, I just want to say one more time, a big, big thank you to Michelle for sharing your expertise with us, for taking the time to prepare. I hope you've taken a moment to go through the comments. You had some really good shout outs in there. They loved the chart where you were talking about taking this one passive activity and turning it into a purposeful activity. And so it's not about how much we're using technology. It's about how we're using it. And we're just so thankful for Michele for taking the time to tell us a little bit about her story and how she's doing it. So thank you so much, Michele. Thank you, everyone, for being here. And we'll see you at our next webinar. Have a great rest of your day, everyone.